Hey, Pretty Girl Club. Has anyone noticed that when you are the pretty girl or when people view you as socially more attractive than them, then suddenly they want to make you feel obligated to be extra humble, to like talk to everybody, to prove how personable you are? And it's like, why is it that I have to go out of my way to show you how humble I am? Has anyone else noticed this? And also, have you noticed how whenever people say that you're cocky or you're conceited or you're stuck up, whenever you ask them to name examples of what you did to show proof that you are conceited, they never have an answer. Literally, like the other day, I recorded a video about how like somebody complained and said that these YouTube channels are making us cocky. And it's like, okay, where's the cockiness? Like, what is considered cocky? Making YouTube channels is cocky now? So, out of the millions of YouTube channels that exist on YouTube, only this channel and other exotical channels are the cocky ones. Have you ever noticed how people will call you cocky for literally doing the same thing that everyone else does? If you wear makeup, you're conceited. If you look in the mirror, you're being vain. If you wear a cute outfit, you think you're better. If you're an introvert, you're stuck up. And it's like at this point, I no longer care about being called conceited, stuck up, having a superiority complex. That's another thing. Whenever people use terms like, you have a superiority complex, it's like, okay, point fingers and name names. What exactly did that person do to prove that they had a superiority complex? And the person can never name any examples. They can't name any examples. They have no proof that you have a superiority complex. What they are doing is they're actually just assuming that you think you're superior, but they don't realize that by assuming that you have a superiority complex, they are also assuming that you have a reason to feel superior. Anyone who assumes that you're stuck up, they're admitting that you must have a reason to be stuck up. So, once again, basically, I've noticed that when people say you're stuck up or conceited, what it really means is you are attractive and confident, and you have the ability to social climb and interact with people and articulate yourself. And I interpret that as you automatically being conceited. At this point, that's literally what I feel like that means when people say that, because not once have I ever heard someone call another person conceited and then they actually had proof that that person was conceited. And also, I'd rather be called conceited or stuck up or having a superiority complex. I'd rather be associated with that than be called a victim. I mean, I'd rather be associated with being conceited or thinking I'm the shit, because think about it. A person who is viewed as stuck up, notice how guys who try to ask you out and then you reject them, they call you stuck up too. So I'm starting to feel like people are using terms like stuck up, conceited, and superiority complex as a form of gaslighting and guilting you into socially placing yourself on the same level as that person who feels rejected by you. Because seriously, I've noticed that there's a pattern. What happens is a person gets rejected by you, like a guy, he asks you on a date or something, you say no. Or let's say it's a jealous woman and you're just not friends with her, like you didn't make friends with her, you didn't go out of your way to talk to her. And because she feels socially rejected or because she feels inferior to you, then she accuses you of having a superiority complex, or she accuses you of thinking you're better. It's similar to the Exotical story time where the girl wrote in and she said that her unambiguous mother told her that she felt like she rejected her as a baby. And it's like, okay, no, because if you give a baby that much social power over you to make the excuse that a baby rejected you, no, that means that you probably had some sort of inferiority complex, or you might have just felt inferior to that baby's phenotype, and then you just automatically assumed that they must think they're better. And I've noticed the same pattern when people say, you think you're all that, or you think you're the shit. Whenever you ask them, like, okay, what did I do to show that I'm the shit? It's literally, the answer will be that you dressed up that day, or, you know, you just got your hair done, or you're wearing makeup that day. And it's like, okay, so if being conceited, stuck up, having a superiority complex, if all that means to you is I look cute, I have confidence, and I know how to articulate myself, then fine. I have no problem being perceived as that being one of my flaws. A part of dark femininity, and that's what I talk about on this channel, part of dark femininity to me is embracing my own flaws. Okay, so if my flaw is that I'm conceited, I'm stuck up, I have a superiority complex, so be it. If that's my flaw, then so be it. If that's the flaw that you perceive me as having, so be it. And another thing that I found interesting about that person who commented on my channel yesterday saying these mixed race channels are blowing you guys' heads up, kind of like saying that we're becoming cocky because we have YouTube channels. It's like that comment was made in response to somebody complimenting Beyonce or like kind of bigging up Beyonce who has their phenotype. And it's like, okay, so if you compliment someone who looks like you, then you have a big head. If you create a YouTube channel, then apparently that's cocky. If you have YouTube channels created for your phenotype, apparently that's blowing your head up. If you wear makeup and look cute and articulate yourself well, then you're conceited and you have a superiority complex. And it's like at this point, I feel like the only way to prove you are not conceited is to literally be walking with your insecurities on your sleeve. And it's like, no, everybody doesn't walk around with their insecurities on their sleeve like you do. I don't have to define my identity on victimhood. Has anyone else noticed how a lot of women with inferiority complexes, they want to trauma bond with you, and then when you refuse to trauma bond with them, then suddenly they have a problem? I was watching a video from the Exotic Brown Skin where she was talking about this and about how sometimes women at your job or whatever, they will like kind of trauma dump on you, and then they want you to trauma dump back to them. They want you to tell them all your business and like all the worst parts of what it's like in your life or whatever, and that's the only way they can become your friend. And then if you choose not to walk around with your trauma on your sleeve, then people perceive that as, oh, well, she thinks she's better than me or she's conceited. It also reminds me of the Brianna Monique thing. When Brianna was making a video talking about hair care and she talked about how she loved her hair, and then she mentioned that her mom was saying she had a hard time with her hair and stuff like that, and then people perceive that as you have a superiority complex. And it's like the girl never even said anything negative about type 4 hair. All she said was, I like my hair texture or I'm blessed with my hair texture. She didn't say my mom's hair texture sucks or my mom's hair texture is cursed. All she said was, I've been blessed with my hair texture. My hair is very easy to manage. And if anything, Brianna Monique, she was trying to express understanding to her Black audience, by talking about her mother's Black hair texture. She was saying, hey, basically I understand because my mom has the same hair texture as a lot of my audience, which I don't have. So if anything, she was acknowledging her quote unquote privilege that people beg us to acknowledge. They'll be like, you only got to where you are because of your skin tone. You only got this because you're pretty. You only got that because of your hair texture. And then when you agree with them and you say, you know what, you're right, I do have pretty privilege, then suddenly it's like, oh my God, you're so conceited. You acknowledge your privilege. Ha ha, I got you. And I also remember, I think it was I Am Eloho who, in that video about Brianna Monique, she was like, I can't stand it when girls with type 3 hair, when they act like they don't have any issues with their hair. And it's like, well, okay, what are girls with type 3 hair supposed to do? Are we supposed to walk around and tell everybody what sucks about our hair? Like, so does someone have to walk around voicing their insecurities constantly in order to come off as humble? Because that's what I'm starting to think this is. So basically it's, if you don't walk around with your insecurities on your sleeve, you have a superiority complex. If you talk positively about yourself and if you love yourself out loud, you must be conceited. And it's like, okay, well, if self-love is considered conceited now, then I'll be conceited all day long. Because what I'm not going to do is dumb myself down in order to soothe another person's insecurities. What I'm not going to do is wear my traumas and my failures on my sleeve and make my failures a part of my identity. That's what I'm not going to do. I'm not going to make all of my worst experiences the core of who I am. Because it's not. I'm an overcomer. That's who I am in my spirit. Okay. And maybe that's my church background kicking in. I'm no longer religious. I'm a heathen now. But you know what? I'm an overcomer. I have an overcomer's spirit. Okay. So if that means that, oh, she thinks she's superior and, they all are so cocky now because of their YouTube channels, it's like, okay, if that's what you think, then so be it. The way that I see it is like, I don't have to show everyone my insecurities in order to be humble because that never worked in the past. So in the past, I used to be a people pleaser. I would pander to other people by talking about my insecurities or, voicing my insecurities, using self-depreciating humor. I would do stuff like that. And then the jealous person would still turn around and use that same information against me in the future. So it's like, okay, so obviously dimming myself down didn't work. Insulting myself didn't work. Talking down on my own phenotype or on my own community, that didn't work. So, how about I just carry myself with confidence? What I've noticed is that if you love the way you look and you look different than someone else, then sometimes that person will get mad at you because it's like, oh, how dare you love how you look and not look like me? You must have a superiority complex. You only love how you look because you have type 3 hair and not type 4. And it's like, how do you know where her self love is coming from? Do you live inside of her mind? Can you read her thoughts? Or are you assuming that because she is pretty and has a type 3 hair texture, that she must be a texturist? I've noticed that another thing that people tend to think is cocky or arrogant is when you promote yourself. And it's like, if I have a business, if somebody has a business or a product or a service, or if they simply post an Instagram picture and put some hashtags or something, that is called normal human behavior. Like, I've noticed that if you are perceived as having social power, if you're perceived as having any sort of privileges, like pretty privilege or any other privileges, you are not allowed to promote yourself in any way. You're not allowed to promote your business. You're not allowed to flaunt your beauty because that is extremely arrogant, because how dare you outshine other people with your unique beauty? How dare you do that? How dare you embrace your skin tone? Who do you think you are to be both pretty and smart? And I've noticed that a lot of people, they are just using these terms as gaslighting. But then the same people who use those terms as negative, they worship celebrities and artists who have some of those same qualities, or women who are perceived as having some of those same qualities. They follow and listen to songs like Beyonce, I'm a diva, I'm a diva. Like, you listen to all these songs, or these rappers where they're talking about being the greatest rapper of all time. People follow sports teams and stuff, and then the people will be like, this is the greatest sports team of all time. So those are actual phrases where you could argue, okay, yes, that is being cocky or conceited. So it's like, why is it okay to say it in every other scenario except for randomly with this one person you're jealous of? No, just admit that you were jealous of that person and then move on. And I've noticed that a lot of people like to practice situational ethics. So they don't care about all the other bullshit going on in the world. All they care about is the fact that you are conceited. You are the conceited girl in the office. You have a superiority complex because you are wearing makeup and articulating yourself. You must think you're better than others because you didn't get mad when I ignored you. Have you ever been around people where they try to trigger you emotionally, and then when you're unbothered, then suddenly it's like, oh, she must be conceited. She thinks she's better. Or people who say, you didn't speak to nobody. And it's like, okay, if me simply walking past you has the power to trigger such a visceral emotional response, that means you actually have the inferiority complex, because I'm literally just minding my business, literally just walking, not doing anything. I don't know if I told you guys the story of when the lady yelled at me at the soul food restaurant, but basically what happened was me, my mom, and my dad, we went into this soul food place to get chicken and waffles. And then, so my dad ordered. So he was like, hi, can I get a, and by the way, my dad's an unambiguous black man. He was like, hi, can I get a, and then he made his order. Then my mom, she was like, hi, can I get a, and then she said chicken and waffles or whatever. And then I came up the exact same way, used the exact same phrase. And I said, hi, can I get a, and the lady immediately interrupted me, stopped me from talking, yelled, and was like, you didn't speak to nobody. She was like, good morning. And then I just looked at her like weirdly, like, what the heck? And then she was like, he said hello, she said hello, you didn't speak to nobody. And that was completely false. I literally said word for word the exact same thing that my parents had said. But because that woman specifically had an inferiority complex compared to me, because I was the one that was most adjacent to her, she suddenly felt the need to call me out or whatever. And I also think that sometimes, she was an older lady, so I also think sometimes older women can do this to younger women as well, because I do look really young, especially if I'm wearing like a hoodie or something, which I was wearing a hoodie that day. And I had like a long bust down weave, so I looked really young. But if me not speaking to you triggers such a huge emotional response, it's like, first of all, why are you allowing me to control your emotions? I'm literally just a random person in a soul food restaurant. Like, you should be trying to get tips right now, ma'am. Like, you literally just lost a tip. We could have given you a really big tip. And then I remember I even talked to my mom and dad. I was like, yeah, she did that on purpose to me. Even my parents agreed, like, she purposely was trying to do that to me. And I've noticed that people will do this to you if they perceive you to be the quote unquote prettier version of them. Because I noticed that, like, okay, so my dad compared to this lady, so he's an unambiguous black man, so maybe she like wanted to be nice to him. My mom obviously has a completely different phenotype than that woman altogether. And for me, because I have blackness, visible blackness in me, I'm not white passing or anything. I look like a quote unquote light skinned black girl. That's like my phenotype. Well, I guess it's kind of debatable, but yeah. Think of like Tia and Tamara, Aaliyah, Beyonce, that sort of phenotype, Rihanna. So because I was the most adjacent phenotype to her, I felt like I must have triggered some sort of complex, because why do you feel the need to randomly yell in a freaking chicken and waffle shop, for God's sakes? Like, this is literally a borderline fast food place and you're yelling. And you're yelling. Why? Because I didn't say good morning? Are you that obsessed with me saying hello to you to the point where you feel the need to yell at a customer because they didn't say good morning? I could have reported her to her manager. I could have said, hey, can I speak to the manager? I could have wrote a bad review if I wanted to. I could have tapped into my Karen skills and wrote a horrible review and said, so-and-so at the front counter, she yelled at me. I could have easily done that, but I chose not to. But at this point, I'm starting to feel like when people use terms like, you are conceited, you have a superiority complex, you don't speak to nobody, what they really mean is you have more social power than me and I'm mad about it. This actually reminds me of the whole Beyonce thing that's going on right now. And people, they were trying to troll my channel and they're like, nobody cares about Beyonce's hair. It's because she's not personable. She's not personable with her fans. But it's like, you want to relate to Beyonce so bad. You want Beyonce to speak to you so bad. You give her so much social power because you are living vicariously through her. You want her to relate to you. Like for me, Beyonce, she already has my phenotype. That's enough for me. Why does she have to prove how personable she is? She does her job every day. You like her music, right? She just released an album. Her job is done. She did her job. She already knows that you guys are viewing her as the queen and you're going to buy her shit anyway. So she doesn't have to do shit. She doesn't owe you anything. The people that you put on a pedestal, they still don't owe you anything. Just saying. You're better off building your own pedestal rather than giving someone else your pedestal and then getting mad when they don't, speak to you or do things in the way that you want them to do it. Because what you're really saying on a subconscious level is, hey, I helped you build your pedestal, and now you won't reach back and pull me up onto your pedestal. And it's like, yeah, of course not, because pedestals are supposed to be individual. You're supposed to all be building your own pedestals, just for yourself, only for you. There's only room for one person on the pedestal, right? Because you're the main character of your life, right? Or did you make someone else the main character of your life? And so it's like, don't make someone else the queen of your life and then get mad when you feel like a peasant. Anytime you get mad at somebody for not speaking to you, you made her the queen of your life. You made her the queen of your social life. Anytime you get mad at somebody for not representing you, you made that person the queen of your representation. Anytime people get mad at my YouTube channel for not including them, you're making me the queen of your YouTube algorithm. I didn't ask to be your queen. I didn't ask to be the queen of the unambiguous YouTube algorithm. You guys are coming here. But I've noticed some people have this warped mindset of if they center somebody else, then like that person will center them. This channel is all about decentering vibes, okay? So it all starts with going on a decentering men journey, and that will help you to overcome a lot of your physical insecurities. But then after that, you have to decenter everybody else because everybody else is really not thinking about you like that. Like when I walked into the soul food place, I wasn't thinking about the lady that worked at the front. I was thinking about the chicken and waffles I was going to eat. That's what I was thinking about. And it's like, I've had to learn that instead of focusing on everybody else's level up, I need to level myself up. Okay, so I'm not worried about, oh, I have to say hi to everybody. Oh, I have to make sure that everybody else likes me. Oh, I have to use self-depreciating humor. No, I'm done with that. So if that means that we're being conceited over here or like we're being cocky and stuff or being stuck up, having a superiority complex, whatever, that's fine. Just call me Hillary. They've been doing it my whole life anyway. So I will be the Hillary I will be the Beyonce. You could be the Kelly or the Michelle if that's what you want to be. And it's funny because a lot of people, they talk so much shit about Beyonce, but it's like, are you the Beyonce of your own life? Because the way that you are worshiping this woman, I'm starting to believe that you're not the Beyonce of your own life. And that Beyonce is the Beyonce in your life. And it's like, why are we living vicariously through other people, especially through other people who don't even relate to you at all? I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, I like Taylor Swift. I like Sabrina Carpenter. Those are some of my favorite artists. Olivia Rodrigo. I like women like that, but I don't pay as much attention to them in comparison to someone who actually has my phenotype. I might listen to their music, but then I just move on. I don't get mad and say, these people are not personable enough. They didn't make enough content and interact with me. Nobody owes me their interaction. Nobody owes me sexual attraction, because that's another thing. If you don't date me, you're colorist. If you don't date me, you're racist. Nobody owes me a date. I am not a charity case. I'm not a sexual charity case. I'm not a beauty charity case. I am not the social charity case. So that woman in the soul food place who yelled at me for not speaking, she was making herself into a social charity case. Because what she would have done is, if I would have came back to that place, then I would have been like, oh God, now I got to say hi to the lady at the front. So it's like, you're actually not getting the reaction you want. Even if you do bully someone into saying hello to you, they're still not saying hello out of genuine interest for you. They're only saying hello because you have basically bullied them into saying hello. So same thing goes with dating. If you're trying to get a guy to date you to prove that he's not racist, colorist, texturist, featurist, fat phobic, whatever, that do you really want a guy who you had to bully into dating you? Do you really want someone to date you as a form of charity? Like you're just this charity case that they're picking up for the weekend. You know, they're doing their customer service by dating you. They're doing their duty to society by giving you a chance for a date. I don't want to be the charity case. So if I had to choose between being conceited or being the charity case, I would choose being conceited every single time. But what do you ladies think? Has anyone ever been able to describe exactly what makes you conceited? Because I've never seen it, not once. I have never had anybody be able to give actual concrete examples of someone being conceited, stuck up, or having a superiority complex. Usually their examples are basically the person has confidence and the person is leveling up. But what do you ladies think? Let me know in the comment section and I'll talk to you next time. Stay pretty, ladies.